I have watched 4 minutes of television 11 times in one sitting, and I still got the count wrong. This was a Tuesday, work night. I had my laptop on the kitchen counter, a notepad next to it, and a pen I kept clicking. And I was trying to count the camera cuts in the BTS Butter Performance AMAs. Just count them. That's the whole project. I'd hit spacebar, make a tally mark, hit spacebar, make a tally mark, and somewhere around the second chorus I'd lose the thread completely because the cut I was trying to catch had already happened and been replaced by another one. And my pen was still hovering over the paper like an idiot. 11 times, and I got a different number almost every time. At some point I noticed the rice I'd put on had gone cold, and I ate it cold, standing up, still watching. Here's what I eventually figured out. I wasn't bad at counting. The performance was built so I couldn't. That's not a compliment I hand out lightly. On the 21st of November, 2021, at the Microsoft Theater in Los Angeles, BTS closed the American Music Awards. Not performed at. Closed. Final slot of the night, the last thing you see before the credits. And they walked into it having already collected favorite pop duo or group, favorite pop song, and artist of the year. They'd also already been on that stage once that evening, standing next to Chris Martin, doing My Universe. So the yellow suits weren't an entrance, they were a return. And the thing everybody remembers, the melting butter hearts on the screens, the wall of yellow light, 7 men not missing a beat, that's the surface. Underneath it is a piece of engineering so precise that a grown adult with a notepad and 11 attempts can't reverse it in his own kitchen. So let's do it properly. The BTS Butter Performance AMAs, taken apart. The camera language, the vocal architecture, the geometry of where 7 bodies stand and why, and the one thing that happened 24 hours before showtime that should have broken all of it. Start with the fight. Nobody televises. An awards show camera crew and a Kpop formation want completely opposite things. An awards show is built for faces. That's the entire grammar of the thing. Somebody says a name, you cut to the nominee, you get the flinch, or the smile, or the very brave losing face, and you cut away. Every camera in that building is trained to hunt for a human head and hold it. Cardi B is hosting. The room is a reaction machine. A 7-member formation wants the exact opposite. It wants you to sit back and not move. The whole point of a formation is that it's a shape, and a shape only exists if you can see all of it at once. Cut in close on Jungkook's face during a synchronized 8 count, and you've just deleted the choreography. It's gone. You've replaced a shape with a portrait, and the portrait is nice, but nobody rehearsed a portrait for 3 weeks. So you've got 2 incompatible instincts pointed at the same stage, live, on ABC, in the final 4 minutes of the broadcast, and somebody has to decide which one wins on every single beat. Watch what they actually do with it. The wide shots don't come when the music peaks, which is the amateur read, and it's wrong. The wides come when the formation changes. The camera pulls back precisely when there's a shape worth seeing, and it commits to the tight shot when there's a face doing something a shape can't. Suga's verse doesn't need a wide. Suga's verse needs Suga. Then the moment the 7 of them reassemble, you're back out, and you're out fast enough that you catch the shape locking into place rather than the aftermath of it. That's the thing my notepad couldn't survive. I was counting cuts as if they were random events, and they're not random. They're keyed to the choreography, which means the cut rate isn't constant. It accelerates and decelerates with the dance, and a man making tally marks at a steady rhythm in his kitchen is going to be wrong roughly 100% of the time. And every one of those decisions is being made live, not in an edit suite the next morning with coffee and infinite time. Live. A director in a truck outside the Microsoft Theater is calling cameras in real time against choreography. He's seen in rehearsal and is now watching happen once, at speed, with no second take, while the Artist of the Year trophy is still warm backstage. Now the part that starts arguments. Every time a K-pop group performs on Western television, a certain kind of person appears in the replies to explain that it wasn't really live, and every time, somebody else appears to explain that it absolutely was. Both of them are usually arguing about the wrong thing, because a live vocal isn't a yes or a no. It's a spectrum, and every major pop performance on Earth sits somewhere on it. Here's the physics nobody wants to sit with. Butter has a choreography that keeps the body in near constant motion, and the human diaphragm is not a neutral party in that arrangement. Singing is breath under control, dancing is breath under assault. And if you ask a body to do a full 8 count and land a clean sustained note on the exit, you're asking two systems that hate each other to cooperate. On television, once. So what any competent music director does, for BTS, for Bruno Mars, for anybody moving that hard, is build a stack. Some elements are locked, some are open. The doubles and the harmony beds sit underneath, the lead lines sit on top and get sung, and the mix rides all of it in real time so that the thing reaching your television is coherent, rather than a documentary about somebody running out of air. The tell is in the texture, not the pitch. Listen for the breath. Listen for the tiny consonant that arrives a hair late because the body just absorbed an impact, and the note that has more grain in it than the studio cut. Those aren't flaws. They're the seams where the live layer sits on top of the bed, and they're the most honest thing in the broadcast. J-Hope did not have a quiet evening. Jungkook told Entertainment Tonight on the red carpet that his shirt was soaked through with sweat from dancing, and that was before this performance, which is a sentence I find genuinely funny in a way I can't fully justify. The engineering question was never whether it's live. The engineering question is how you build a vocal presentation where 7 moving bodies, 3 of them rappers with completely different breath demands, deliver a broadcast-safe mix in a room with an audience, ambient noise everywhere, and a hard out at the top of the hour. You do it by deciding, line by line, beat by beat, what's carried and what's earned. That's not cheating. That's a floor plan. And if you're already typing the live vocals argument into the comments, go ahead. That's genuinely what it's for. Hit like on your way past, and subscribe if you want the rest of this era pulled apart the same way, because I'm nowhere near done with 2021. Back to the stage. The set is where this gets almost funny, because on paper it's a disaster. They put 7 men in yellow suits. Then they flooded the stage in bright yellow light. Then they filled the screens behind them with animated melting butter hearts and a giant butter sign, all of which are also, you'll be shocked to learn, yellow. Say that plan out loud in a production meeting and any lighting director with a pulse should be reaching for the door. Yellow on yellow is how you make people vanish. A broadcast camera resolves an image by finding edges, and an edge is a difference. So remove the difference and you haven't designed a stage. You've designed a fog. Worse, yellow is the most hostile color you can point at a skin tone on live television. It's close enough to warm flesh that it eats faces for lunch. And the whole reason anyone tunes into an awards show is faces. So how does it read? Because it does read. That performance is one of the most legible things on the broadcast. Separation. The yellow is almost entirely coming from behind and around. From the screens, the wash, the signage, and the bodies are being lit differently from the environment they're standing in. That's the entire trick, and it's the oldest trick in the book. You don't fight the color, you fight the direction. Backlight gives you a rim gives you an edge, and an edge gives the camera something to hold on to, which means the suits stop being camouflage and start being the brightest object in a yellow room. Completely different job. And the melting hearts are doing something sneakier than decoration. Animated screen content behind a formation is a motion problem, because anything moving back there competes with the dance for your eye, unless it's slow. Melting is slow. Melting is about the only animation you can put behind. 7 people doing sharp synchronized choreography that won't wrestle them for attention, because it moves on a completely different time scale to a body. The screens are busy and calm at the same time, and that's a choice somebody agonized over. Then the geometry. 7 is an odd number, which is a gift, because odd numbers have a true center. You get a spine down the middle of the stage and symmetric wings either side, and you can rotate who owns that center line, verse by verse, without the shape ever collapsing. Even numbered groups have to invent a center. 7 just has one, which is precisely why what happened the day before should have destroyed the whole thing. On the 8th of November, the show announced its headline act, BTS and Megan Thee Stallion, main stage, the world television premiere of the Butter remix. That was the sell. That was the thing on the poster. On Saturday, the 20th, the day before the broadcast, Megan posted that due to an unexpected personal matter, she could no longer attend. The AMAs replied that they'd miss her, and that was that. Now go back to everything I just told you and add one body. An 8th person isn't a guest who stands somewhere. An 8th person is a different piece of mathematics. 8 is even, and even numbers have no true center. So the spine running down the middle of that stage doesn't exist in an 8-body formation. It becomes a gap between 2 people. The shape has to be rebuilt around a CM instead of a spine. The camera plan changes, because now there's a face the audience is specifically waiting for and the director has to service it. The vocal stack changes. The lighting has to carry a performer whose entire visual identity is not 7 men in matching yellow. I'm reasoning here, not reading you a rehearsal log, because I wasn't in the building and neither were you. But the announcement was made, the premiere was promoted, and then it was gone with roughly a day on the clock. Whatever version of that show existed on Friday, it wasn't the version that closed the broadcast on Sunday night. And here's where I want you to look up from whatever else you're doing. You watch that performance, maybe live, maybe at 3 in the morning on a phone, maybe 11 times on a kitchen counter with cold rice, like some people, and you saw 7 men in yellow suits nail it. That's what registered. No seam, no hole, no moment where anybody's eyes flick to a mark that isn't occupied anymore. That's not luck, and it's not what people mean when they say a performance was flawless. Flawless implies nothing went wrong, and something went extremely wrong. Something went wrong at the worst possible point in the schedule, on the biggest slot of the night, at a show where they'd just been handed Artist of the Year an hour earlier, and every camera in Los Angeles was pointed at them. The performance you remember is the recovery. You just weren't given any way to know that, because the entire craft of it was making sure you couldn't tell. Which brings me back to the notepad. But first, the slot itself. The closing slot at an award show is a poisoned gift, and everyone in the industry knows it. By the time you get there, the room has been sitting in those seats for 3 hours. The audience has clapped for everything. The people at home already got what they came for, because the awards are handed out, the speeches are done, the drama is spent. Anyone who wanted the result has the result, and every incentive in the universe is telling that viewer to go to bed. You have to reanimate all of it, from a standing start in about 4 minutes, with a hard out at the top of the hour that doesn't negotiate. Overrun, and you get cut off on the West Coast. That's not a note, that's a wall. Then add the specific trap BTS walked into. They'd already won. Artist of the Year, an hour or so earlier. Performing after the win is structurally an anti-climax, because the story's over and you're doing an encore to a resolved plot. Most acts would take the safer slot and run. Look at the escalation though. 2017, they debut at the AMAs with DNA, an introduction, a proof of concept. 2020, pandemic, so they close the show with Dynamite and Life Goes On. Beamed in from Korea, closing the broadcast technically, but from 6,000 miles away with no room to work. 2021 is the first time all three things are true at once. Physically in the building, closing slot, artist of the year in hand. That's the context. Every technical decision in this thing is answering. The cut rate keyed to the choreography instead of the music. That's for a tired audience whose attention has to be seized rather than requested. The backlit separation against a yellow wash. That's so the shape reads on a phone screen in a bedroom at 1 in the morning, which is where most of the views were always going to come from. The melting hearts moving on their own slow clock. That's so nothing on that stage competes with the only asset that matters, which is 7 bodies hitting the same beat. And the 7-body formation, the one with the true center and the symmetric wings, is the version they went out with roughly 24 hours after the 8th body left the building. The BTS Butter Performance AMAs isn't remembered as a technical achievement, it's remembered as a good time. That's the achievement. The 12th time, I didn't bring the notepad. I'd figured out by then that the counting was never going to work, and I'd figured out why. And the honest thing to admit is that the why isn't flattering to me. I wasn't measuring the performance, I was trying to catch it. There's a particular kind of person who watches something that works and immediately needs to know the trick. As if the trick is the real thing and the working is a distraction. And on a Tuesday night in my kitchen, with cold rice, that person was me. So the 12th time I just watched it. Yellow suits, yellow room, hearts melting slowly behind 7 men who'd lost their 8th the previous day and didn't appear to be carrying it. The camera pulling back at exactly the moment the shape locked, every time, called live by somebody in a truck outside the Microsoft Theater who had one shot at it and took it. I still don't know how many cuts there are. That's not me being cute, I genuinely don't. I could go frame by frame with proper software and get a number, and the number would be correct. And it would tell me nothing I didn't learn the 12th time, which is that the whole apparatus, the lighting direction, the camera language, the vocal stack, the geometry with its true center and its symmetric wings, the 24-hour rebuild nobody in the audience felt, all of it exists for one purpose: to disappear, to leave you with 4 minutes of yellow and a song about butter and no idea that anything was ever difficult. 11 attempts with a pen, 1 night without it. The pen was the wrong tool.